the feeling of meaninglessness, or perhaps I might say the one's despair over the apparent meaninglessness of life, is in no way a neurosis. You see, questing for a meaning to life, even more questioning, doubting that there is such a meaning available, is rather a human achievement than a neurotic symptom. No animal will ever raise the question whether or not its existence has a meaning, but man does, and even more, it's a privilege, it's a prerogative of youth, boldly dare and venture to challenge that there is a meaning to life rather than taking it for granted. In other words, it's an intellectual honesty and sincerity, but no neurotic disease.
I'm interested in your comments on the idea that man is not kind of controlled by drives and instincts, and maybe it would be better for him if he were. He wouldn't have the same problems, I guess.
Of course, and it's a characteristic of neurotic existence that one tries to get rid of one's freedom of choice, and one tries to just delve to intoxicate oneself by way of pleasure-seeking. Actually, basically, man is not concerned with pleasure or power. The will to power, what I'm used to calling the will to pleasure, is nothing original and primary, but rather a will to meaning, as I'm used to calling it. This means man is basically concerned with finding and fulfilling a meaning in life. And if this search for meaning is frustrated, the noogenic neurosis, the feeling of meaninglessness, results.
How would this apply, for example, to the increasing violence that we see today?
You see, when there is a feeling of meaninglessness, people do meaningless things. They resort to crime, to violence, because the will to power, exaggerated, you see, lived out, without restraint, in violence, the will to power as well as the will to pleasure are substitutes for the frustrated will to meaning. The will to meaning, one's search for meaning, is the original concern. And only a man who has been frustrated in this basic will to meaning then resorts either to power seeking or to pleasure seeking. And the crudest, most brutal form of power seeking, of living out one's search for power, is violence. And on the other hand, this pleasure seeking, the so-called pursuit of happiness, is not only contradicting one's primary will to meaning, but even more, it proves to be self-defeating. It is the very pursuit of pleasure, of happiness, that thwarts happiness, because happiness occurs as a byproduct, as a side effect of finding and fulfilling a meaning, or loving another being, another human being.